Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, good day, ladies and gentlemen, from whichever corner of the world you're joining us from. Welcome to our third call and final call on cashew, cocoa, maize, and livestock value chains under the Business Support Facility for Agriculture Value Chains program. This is Competitive Matching Grant Fund series of webinars. And in this webinar, we are going to go more into the details on the application process and how do you form a consortium. As we are about to start, we would like to know where you're joining from and where you come from, your name. Please, you can all access the chats. I believe all of us can access the chat. I can access the chat, yes. We are all muted, so I believe everybody should be muted. I hear some sound and echo. Kindly mute yourself. Please put on then the name on the chat, your company, where you come from and where you're joining us. We would like to know who is on the call. We are currently about 44 people. And I would like to have briefly for the opening session. What are we going to have in this call? I'd say all protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. I'm Ashford Ngugi. I'm joining from Midrand, Johannesburg in South Africa, and I'll be your moderator for this session. Let me explain to you or walk you through the agenda for today. The next slide, please. I see we have people from Ghana, Mozambique, Nigeria. Welcome everyone on board. Ghana, Akwaba. Yes, Ghana, Akwaba, Nigeria. Karibu, Kenya. Karibu, welcome. This is our agenda today. If you can see the agenda, we'll have our first start with brief opening remarks. We have the program is supported by the German government, the European Union Directorate General for International Partnerships, EU INPA, and Organization of Organization of Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific. We have had a launch yesterday, and today we are going more into the details on the application process. How do you do the application process for this matching grant fund, and how do you form a consortia? What do we mean by a consortia? We have able presenters who take us through that. So we'll have the opening remarks, the background and objectives of the program, which are the intervention areas. We'll go to the competitive matching grant fund project, and then what does it mean if you're in a consortium? Who is the lead applicant? What is the consortium partner? Once we receive the concepts, how the scoring will be done, and then the next will be the calls to action. So if you have any comments and question, kindly put them on the chat, or you could note it down somewhere, and then you would ask in course of at the end of the presentation. And at this juncture, I would like to go directly into the business of the day. We have, I think, apologies, please, my sound engineer, guide me if you have a guest from European Union or OACPS. Christian, do we have EU OACPS? If not, yeah, received apologies well received. Yes, I'm guided. They are not in the call. So I'd like to ask Bastian from a MOVE project to give a welcome remarks to the participants for this webinar. Bastian, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ashford. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, we can.
Okay, that seems to be the case. I think we will keep the opening remarks for our today's call about the matching grant facility, the application process in the consortia really as short as possible, because what we are here for today is to work together with you on getting a better understanding of the matching grant facilities modalities, how to apply, how the application process looks like in the consortia. So really what I simply want to give you here is a little bit of guidance on how this matching grant facility came about and where the funding is from before we will dive right into the technical aspects which we are here united for and curious about. We simply want to take this opportunity to thank our funders, which are first off the European Union Director General for International Partnerships and the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, OACPS, Secretariat for International Affairs, who have provided funding for this call, which has been co-funded also by the German Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, the BMZ, and is being implemented by the Business Support Facility, which is in this year comprised of two projects. Firstly, the Agri-Business Facility for Africa, and ABF, and MOVE, the market-oriented value chains for jobs and growth in the ECOWAS region. It is the third call after a very successful first call in the cashew value chain and another second very successful call in the maize, cocoa, and livestock value chains, which are currently ongoing. And it's our pleasure to present this together here with joint forces as a joint team effort. Without much further ado, Ashford, please, let's dive right into it. Please guide us along the presentation, which my colleague Mary Ajanio is going to hold today. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Bastian, for the welcome remarks, warm welcome and opening remarks. I think we'll go directly into the business of the day. We've gone through the agenda, and I'll hand over to our technical experts to take us through the journey. So Mary, the floor is yours. And for the sake of clarity and flow, I would say, Mary, you, after your presentation, the other presenters, you may also, first of all, introduce yourself, but for the other presenters, please also seamlessly just welcome them into the call. I'll come in at the end. Yeah. Thank you. Mary, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much to you, Ashford, and also to Bastian for the opening remarks. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome everybody again to today's call on the matching grant fund process. For most of you who were able to make it yesterday, the launching went on, and today we want to take you through what steps you need to take in order to be able to apply for this matching grant fund. And I'll start with the background of the Business Support Facility for Resilient Agricultural Value Chain. So the Business Support Facility for Resilient Agricultural Value Chains, this is a joint action under the Samoa Agreement of the OACPS, the Organization for African, Caribbean, and the Pacific States, together with the EU Directorate General for International Partnerships, the EU INPA, and the German government through the Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development. This project, which was initiated in 2022, is implemented by the Dutch Gesellschaft for International Zusammenarbeit, GIZ. This project is called the Business Support Facility for Resilient Agricultural Value Chains, implemented by ABF, the Agri-Business Facility for Africa, and the Market-Oriented Value Chains for Jobs and Growth in the ECOWAS region, MOVE. We are working with several value chains, and cashew is implemented by the MoveCom Cashew project, whereas the other value chains for this call, cocoa, maize, and livestock, which includes cattle, goats, and sheep, are implemented by our sister project, the Agri-Business Facility for Africa. On the next slide, We'll have a look at the objective of this project, which is to contribute to the economic and climate resilience of cashew, cocoa, maize, and livestock value chains, increase food security, increase income and employment of the 79 member states of the OACPS, Organization for African, Caribbean, and the Pacific States under the Samoa Agreement. So in this call, we are also focusing on the different objectives that I have mentioned: food security, income, employment, and gender. On the next slide, we will look at, this is just a map representation of the countries that are targeted. And you can see most of them are in Africa, together with the Caribbean as well as the Pacific states. On the next slide, we'll look further into what the key intervention areas are for this project. So we have three main outputs. The first one is for skills for agribusiness, and under skills, we are looking at e-learning and blended learning approaches accessible to all members of the OACPS. We are looking at face-to-face training approaches such as the Farmer Business School, Cooperative Business School, Processor Business School, Gender Make Business Sense Plus, as well as integrated contract farming and the Cashew Master Training Program. We are focusing in terms of e-learning on agriculture as a business model canvas, good agricultural practices, healthy nutrition, use of pesticides, as well as other topics that both projects ABF and MOVE are currently developing. As soon as some of these new projects or e-learning courses are available, we will again launch them and you'll be invited to participate. The second output, which is the reason for our meeting today, is the Matching Grant Fund. So we have two elements of the Matching Grant Fund. We have the Competitive Matching Grant Fund, which is a cost-effective multi-stakeholder partnerships involving private and public actors along the value chains that we already mentioned: cashew, cocoa, maize, and livestock. And beside this call, we are also planning the research grants, which are specific for cashew. You will have more information as soon as possible when the research grants specific elements are ready, and we will invite you again to a forum like this to talk about the research grants. Our third output is about public dialogue and sub-sub exchange. And under this output, we are looking at knowledge sharing and learning for further scaling and institutionalization of different approaches of best practices. We are looking at policy studies, policy elements, regional cashew data and knowledge management system, as well as private-public engagement in order to improve public dialogue and sub-sub exchange. Now, let's come home to why we are here today. This is the Matching Grant Fund. And the Matching Grant Fund is a private-public financing and partnership model. It's an instrument that is designed to support innovative ideas and projects that are geared towards resilient agricultural value chains in the OACP countries. This means that your ideas, not our ideas, are most welcome for specific projects that you would like to put in place. The matching grant funds will drive sustainable growth and also strengthen private sector development to improve the climate resilience and competitiveness of the agricultural value chain actors in the 79 OACP member states for all the value chains that we have mentioned. And just to repeat that we are looking at cashew, cocoa, maize, goats, sheep, and cattle. We will, through this grant, this instrument, build resilience and inclusiveness in the targeted value chains and foster excellence and ownership. Ownership because the ideas should come from you. There will be projects that you are going to propose to us and also be the ones to implement. So we really want to foster excellence and build the ideas, support to build the ideas, your ideas, create that ownership and leverage funding. So we mobilize additional resources for implementation. This means that if you have some ideas or you want to implement, we are there to support your ideas for them to materialize. We are looking at a minimum of 85 projects in total, 85 meaningful and cost-effective multi-stakeholder partnerships involving private and public actors along the different value chains that we have mentioned. And now we would like to talk about the timelines, when we shall do what. I'll kindly ask Emmanuel to click again so we have the dates showing at the same time as I present. This is the third call under this project, and we are also launching the readiness program today. When we talk about readiness program, we're talking about everything that we need to do to support you, our partners, to understand the matching grant fund process and also to apply. So we are starting with the webinar today. There was already one in French in the morning on the matching grant fund process. And this afternoon, we present also the same in English. From tomorrow till the end of the week and partly next week, there are also some webinars on the readiness program that all together will help you to apply for your desired projects with your innovative ideas. So the launch took place yesterday. We expect that between the 18th until the 18th of August, exactly at 12 midday GMT, you would have submitted your ideas in the form of a concept note. Then there is a group of, or a committee, the evaluation committee will evaluate or assess the different concept notes by the end of September. Once that is done, successful applicants will be invited to put in their full proposals. So the full proposals will be developed until the 27th of September, from 27th of September until the 31st of October this year. Once we receive the full proposals, they will be further evaluated, assessed, and the best project will be approved by the board. The same applies to the concept notes. They will be approved by the board of the matching grant funds. Once we have communicated to the successful applicants who have submitted their full proposal, the commercial, administrative, and legal eligibility check will be done. This is a process to ensure that, to reduce the risk for yourselves as well as for GIZ and our donors, that the funding that you receive will be well utilized. Once we have gone through that process, we will go through the contracting process, hopefully starting from February next year. However, just to say that all these processes we shall do together. You will be fully involved and we shall communicate with you so you know that which project is at which stage of the contracting or access process. Then hopefully we are hoping that from April next year, implementation of different projects would have started. And along this step of implementation, GIZ and its partners are still available to support the process. Now, let's look at what GIZ has to offer together with our donors. This activity is founded by the German Corporation, as well as the EU and OACPS, the logos you see on my screen, and it is implemented by GIZ. So we are expecting that for projects in cashew, up to 40% of the total budget will be contributed by GIZ. And for all other value chains, which means cocoa, maize, cattle, sheep, and goats, you will receive a funding up to 50% of the budget that you provide to GIZ. Now, the minimum contribution that we expect you to apply for is 40,000 euros for all value chains. And the maximum contribution will be 100,000 euros for all value chains. However, in exceptional cases, you may have projects that you want to implement beyond one country. For example, if you have your base in different countries, or you want to target, let me give one example. You want to do some work on maize and cashew or whichever value chains you choose, and you want to go beyond one country, you might or you may require funding beyond 100,000 euros up to a maximum of 200,000 euros from GIZ. And this 200,000 euros should still constitute up to 40% of the total budget for the cashew value chain and up to 50% for the other value chains under this call. Please note that we have from the European Union, as I said, this funding is provided by the German government, the EU, and OACPS. And for the EU, there is already a project ongoing under the Sustainable Cocoa Initiative in Ghana, in Cote d'Ivoire, and in Cameroon. Therefore, for these three value chains, for these three countries, the proposals on cocoa value chain will not be eligible. So I want to repeat that to be clear, that proposals on the cocoa value chain from Ghana, from Cote d'Ivoire, and from Cameroon will not be eligible under this call because these three countries are already benefiting from the EU Sustainable Cocoa Initiative. In the interest of regional balance also, during this call, we shall give priority to projects that come from countries with no or very few projects from the previous calls. However, I want to stress that all countries are eligible. And if you visit our website, my colleagues, could you please put the two websites in the chat? When you visit our website, comcashew.com, and as well as the ABF website, you will find a list of countries, a number of projects that are already coming from these countries, as well as which countries are eligible. I'll end here and invite my colleague, Chris, to continue from the next slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mary. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mary, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation on the background of our program and then what we have to offer under the NGF. Yes, I believe by now what is going through our minds is, can I apply? Who can apply? So I will take it from there. First of all, we are targeting the private sector entities. So if you're a private sector entity in any of the value chains that we have indicated above as my colleague presented, yes, we are targeting you as eligible to apply. And also as the lead applicant. I mean, going forward, I would explain why we call someone a lead applicant and why someone also an entity, a consortium. So first of all, should be a private sector company. And then secondly, we are looking at this private sector is willing and ready to go into a consortium agreement with eligible partners. Going forward, you will know who are these eligible partners that can form a consortium. You should also, my colleague presented earlier and made mention of the fact that this is a donor money that is coming in to invest into private companies in the OACPS states. Of course, we need some level of guarantee, some level of assurance to one, reduce risk, both for your side and also our side. So, of course, your company should have a solvency ratio of not less than 50%. As in, that is, we wanting to check your assets against your long-term liabilities. Of course, we wouldn't want to entrust funds into a company that has a debt that their, what do we call it? The assets cannot offset regarding their long-term liabilities. So at least it ideally should have been 100%, but we are saying 50% should be okay or decent to be eligible to apply. Now, you should also show an evidence, there should be an evidence of the legal registration of your company or being it a cooperative for the lead applicant. Then finally, of course, the lead applicants and the consortium partners should have some relevant experience in the value chains which you are applying for. There is a section in the concept note that you would share this experience with us for the evaluation committee to convince that, yes, you do have relevant experience in the value chain that you are applying for. Please, next. Good. So we asked who can be a lead applicant. So to be a lead applicant, we are looking at, of course, a private sector. It could be a processing company that is dealing with any of the value chains that we have spoken about, i.e. cocoa, cashew, cattle, sheep, goats. If you're a processing company, of course, can be an international or a local one. Yes, you are eligible as a lead applicant. Or an agricultural producing organization, could be a producer group, it could be an individual that has outgrower or in-grower scheme. Of course, once you are producing or dealing with any of the value chains that we have made mention of, then of course you are qualified to apply as a lead applicant. Also, an off-taking company, that of course a private sector off-taking company that deals either in the main products of any of our value chains or its byproducts. So it could be a trading company. Once you are dealing in any of our value chains and a private company, of course, you can also apply as a lead. But most importantly, we are looking at the company should come from the OACPS states, should be a local company. Should, in case an international company is interested and want to apply, then of course this international company should be ready to go into an agreement with a local partner as a consortium. Yes, please, the next slide. Okay, so now that we know who can apply as a lead applicant, now the question is, who then becomes a consortium partner? First of all who are qualified as a lead applicant can also be a consortium partner. So a private off-taking company, a producer organization, or a processing company, yes, can be a lead applicant and also a consortium partner, depending on the nature of the program and agreements with your other partners on the consortium. Then again, we have the list of others that can come in as a supporting partner. So we have the Agricultural and Technical Vocational Institute. They can come in as a consortium partner. We can have a national extension organizations, could be a private or a public one, can come as a consortium partner. We do have private and then public research institutions can come in as a consortium partner. Civil society actors can also come in, and also private sector foundation can come in. Not forgetting NGOs also can come in as a consortium partner. Now, we expect that the consortium partner at the concept note stage should have a letter of intent being signed by your consortium partners, showing that yes, there is an intention to form a consortium to implement these projects. And then should your concept be accepted into the next stage, which is the full proposal stage, this agreement or this letter would now develop into a full proposal, what we call an MOU at the full proposal stage. Of course, I stated earlier that one of your partners should be a local one and be coming from the country that is eligible for this MGF. Yes. Now, allow me to introduce another actor that is very important, would be important in the implementation of your projects, your respective projects. So we have dealt with who a lead applicant is, a consortium partner is. Now I'm introducing a service provider. In this context, we agree that a consortium partner could be more than one on a project. So 2 or 3 private public partners that have entered into an official agreement, that is a consortium partner, to present or to implement a joint project. Now, each of the consortium partners makes a specific contribution. For a consortium partner, you make some form of contribution either by cash or in kind. So an example of a consortium partner here is, for instance, if a maize processing company can form a consortium with the supplying farmers corporation. So the maize processing company comes in as a lead, and then the supplying farmer cooperative, either an outgrower or an in-grower model, the cooperative would come in as a consortium partner. Now, a service provider, who then is a service provider? A service provider in this context comes in to perform a specific service for a fee. So unlike your maize supplier, who is in a consortium as a consortium partner, who is not paying anything or contributing in cash or kind, but not receiving any payments. For the service provider, he's rendering a service to your company, either the lead or the consortium partner, on the project for a fee. They are not necessarily part of the consortium, or they are not part of the consortium, and they are not expected to pay any amount in the project implementation. And please, you have to also take note that each service provider that you select will go through a tendering process as per GIZ regulations. An example of a service provider could be a master trainer or any training institution that you want to engage to carry out specific training for your project beneficiaries. It could also be a research institution that is rendering a particular service for you at a fee. So that is also it for service providers. It could also be an IT firm that is hosting a particular page for you for a fee, depending on your project. Thank you. Yes, so we have a typical example of a multi-stakeholder partnership that I would want to invite my colleague from MOVE, Mary, to throw more light on. This is a typical example of one of our projects that were implemented in the other course. So Mary would share with you so that you understand how a typical multi-stakeholder partnership works. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. So here we are trying to explain what kind of projects we are expecting, as well as what we mean by a consortium or a multi-stakeholder partnership project. So first of all, the idea of a consortium is to ensure stronger supply chain linkage. And in this example, we are using an innovative project. It could be something that has to do with the lab or anything that is innovative based on your ideas. It could be digitalization. And the examples that we have here, we have in this circle group of farmers or cooperatives. And we have also a retailer who is the third person sitting by the table as a second person, and a third, because in a consortium, you need to have 2 to 3 people. And there's the 2 to 3 companies, 2 to 3 groups, 2 to 3 entities. And this group example we are giving, we have 3 entities, the group of cooperatives. You can see there are different groups of cooperative. You may choose 1 cooperative or 2 or 3 or 4, depending on your needs or the ideas that you have. And in this example, we have 1 buyer, retailer by the table, and we have a factory. And it's an example coming from cashew. So in this project, the idea is to have, at the end of the day, reduction in carbon dioxide emission, and they are targeting different activities to arrive at that. So we have the projects that includes the different people, the farmers, processor, and off-taker, with 50% being women. I mean, in terms of the cooperative, the beneficiaries are 50% women and 50% youth. And this project is targeting cashew apple processing and farmer linkages, plus other tradings that will lead to carbon dioxide emission. Depending on the ideas that you have, it might differ from this. It might be a project on digitalization. It might be a project strictly on linkages, or providing specific training for women empowerment, or in terms of maize, we can say an example to ensure food security. So all the ideas are up to you. We leave it open. But our goals are the 4 that we have mentioned: women empowerment, carbon dioxide emission reduction, food security, and climate resilience. Right. So if you are presenting any project with this mindset, these ideas in mind, they are all welcome. Thank you very much. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you so much for expanding on an example of a very successful multi-stakeholder partnership. Yes, so now we ask ourselves about how to apply. Here we have the various stages on how you can apply for this matching grant fund. First of all, as my colleague rightly said, we opened the call for application on the 8th of July, that was yesterday, and this call is open up to 18th of August at 12 noon GMT. So you can visit our website and then make good use of the tools. Now that we have opened, of course, the application, what you need to do is to go onto the website and then read about the guidelines. We have carefully prepared a comprehensive guideline to guide you to put in a very good application. Now, when you get into the guideline, one of the things that you need to take note of, should be of interest to you, is eligibility. Number 1, whether you are coming from a country that is eligible to apply, and then your company stands in a good position to apply. If yes, then you can download the concept notes, you download the letter of intent, then you also download what we have prepared, a working aid on budget templates. All are available on our website. I will take you through later on where and how to download them. Now, after downloading, thank you. So after downloading all of these relevant tools for your concept note stage application, now you have to prepare to submit a duly filled concept note. Mind you, we spoke about solvency. In this concept note, you have to show the solvency here, and then get all your consortium partners that have agreed to enter into a consortium with you, get them to sign the letter of intent, which is a template we have also prepared for you, and then also attach proof of registration of your company, legal registration of your company. That is the lead applicant, not for all other consortium partners, but proof of legal registration for the lead applicant. Then all of these attachments you submit to either ABF giz.de or cashew at giz.de, depending on the value chain that you are applying for. Kind reminder, we have cashew and then the other value chains. So if it is your project is on the other value chains, you submit to ABF. Now you sit back, you relax, whilst you take a look at how you're going to design your projects and all that, whilst we also evaluate your concept notes and then get you a feedback. Thank you. Next slide, please. Good. In the spirit of transparency, we would want to share with you our scoring concept. I mean, how we're going to score the concept notes. First of all, we're looking at identification of the applicant. We'll be looking at the identification of the applicant. Here we score 5% of the total marks, and we want to see information about the lead applicant, which includes your profile, where of course you will share with us your experience and relevant knowledge in whatever intervention or value chain that you seek to have a project on, and also including your consortium's background as well. Another thing that we will be grading will be on the budgets and then contribution. At this stage, we are providing a working aid document for you to fill in the budgets, not so detailed budget. However, we want to see, even at the concept stage, how much is the lead applicant contributing to this project or partnership, and then how much is the consortium partner also contributing to the partnership. Mind you, we have set targets of what GIZ can fund and also what you can fund. So we expect, if it is cashew, 60% contribution coming from the lead applicant and the consortium, 60% of the overall budget, and if it is the other value chains, 50%. So this is where we assess and also give you a score of up to 15%. Now, the main would be the project description. Here, we're going to score you 80% based on the background and rationale of the project. Now, also the targeted agricultural value chain as to whether you fall, you are actually, your project is on our targeted agricultural value chain, you score some marks. Then the summary of the project, you score some marks. The goal of your project and objectives gives you some marks, well elaborated, give you some good marks. The climate rationale, which is very important to us, as my colleague rightly said in the introduction, the objective of our overall program. So climate rationale is very important. Inclusiveness, very important. Intervention measures. When you go through the guidelines, we have shared with you some KPIs, some areas that we seek to measure intervention. And of course, we want to see how your program is going to help measure some of these things. And then scale of intervention, the number of people you are reaching, not necessarily getting a huge number of people, but we believe in small is beautiful. But of course, you should reach a good number. And then expected inputs as well. So you score overall 80% here under the project description. Now, my colleague Mary spoke about readiness program that we have prepared for you. You go to our website, which my colleague will navigate there very soon, to access all the readiness program. But I wish to also iterate here that, Emma, please kindly, there is an important line I should talk about, please. Thank you. So the readiness program, over there, you are, when you go to our website, you're going to find the guidelines, the necessary documents, and also the capacity development aids that we have for you, as well as you can even access some of the contract instruments that we give, and then the webinars that are available for you. Now, if your application is being selected or an applicant is selected to hand in full proposal, then more information on budgeting, capacity development, and further steps will be available in a dedicated login area at our websites for applicants who have made it to the final stage or the proposal stage. Now, you can take us to the website for participants to see how the website is set up. Thank you. Yes, so when you go to our website, you can see boldly the call is open for concept notes. You scroll down At our initial visit, you can ignore this green button for where you have to apply via email, our email. Now, these are the important documents that we expect you to download after you have gone through the guidelines to know that you are eligible. First of all, the guidelines is there. You can download or you can view directly on the website. You can show participants how to, on the guideline. Yes, so when you download or you open directly at the website, this is how the guideline looks like. And it is, I should say, your Bible for this application. Every step, whatever we expect from you, is in this guideline. So kindly make very good use of the guideline. Take your time and then read the guideline very well, and then put in your application as required. Please, can we go to the next tool? You can share the letter of intent template, please. Okay. Yes. So we spoke about a letter of intent that in a way shows some agreement that you have with a consortium partner. We have prepared a template of this letter of intent. You only have to fill and make sure it is signed, then attached to all other documents that we spoke about. So this is simply how the letter of intent look like. Then you can also, now you download your concept notes templates, which you will also find at the website. This is how the concept notes template looks like. In here, we have prepared this in a way that you have some footnotes that would guide you in filling the various areas or aspects of this template. It's quite brief, and also there are word limits because, of course, this is a call for application from over 70 countries. So it is very important to set some word limits for the evaluating committee to also reduce the work. So it is very important for you to make sure that you capture all relevant points to make your application competitive. Thank you. Back to the website. Yes, so after you have downloaded all these tools, yes, there is one other very important tool. We spoke about the working aid. If you could please project the working aid, the budget. Yes. Good. So this is a template that has also been prepared for you. Please, you are only filling in the green areas, the green cells. All other areas are calculated, that has formulas and would populate on its own. Here, you want to show us, we want to see the contribution of the lead applicants regarding staff costs, service providers, external experts, travel costs, training, audits, etc. So show us how much the lead applicant will be contributing in all of these areas, and how much is the consortium partner also contributing. At the end of the day, the total amount of your contribution should be half of the total, cost of the project. That is, if it's in the other value chains, for cashew, your total contribution should be up to 60% of the overall project value. Now, when you go back to the website, there are other important materials regarding the readiness documents that you can also access. These are tools that you can read to also enhance or give direction to some of the human capacity needs or development that you plan for your projects. We have prepared all these and then shared with you on our website that you can download. Please scroll down, Iman. Yes. Again, all what we have taken you through here are also on the website. So if you missed, if a colleague missed, you can refer them to the website. They can read some of these, the steps, the stages, and also know who and how to apply. Now, most importantly, my colleague spoke about the readiness program and the schedule. When you go down to our website, you can see the schedule for the webinars we have here. Yesterday, we had the launch. When you open, you use the plus button, it gives you the link to the program. We realize that sometimes participants or potential applicants even opens these links before the date set or the time set for the training. So for the webinars. Yes, so the links are in there for the respective webinars. Today we are having the application process. Tomorrow, God willing, we would have the human capacity development, which we expect all of you to participate to know the areas that we'll be interested in in terms of capacity building for your potential project beneficiaries. Yes, so then let's say everything is done. Then you can make good use of the green button to put in your application via email. Either you apply here or you can make good use of our email address that is being shared in the guideline documents for you. Next slide, please. Okay. So this screen, we share with you an overview of our webinars as we saw on the website. They are all here, so I don't need to bore you much about the timing and the dates. Yes, bring my presentation to an end here, and then we'll open the floor for questions, which I believe I'll hand over to the moderator who would guide us on how to go about the next part of this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you again. Thanks very much. A round of applause to our presenters, Mary and Christian. You're not yet off the hook. Please keep your videos and cameras on. It's time for questions and comments, ladies and gentlemen. That was quite insightful and the process very well, clearly explained and elaborated. After the launch yesterday, it's all systems go until 18th of August. You can submit your concept today or next week, as long as it's before noon, 18th of August. Now, let's go to questions and comments. I see the chat has been busy. There have been questions and comments, but particularly there's one I would like to read to you, presenters, that I see like has not been answered. I cannot see it, but it was asking if I'm a company on my own, can I apply? That one was not touched on. And then, yeah, the one on the percentage required by, but I see our colleagues have also answered. So we have quite a big team. And please feel free if you also want to use any language, French or Spanish. We are a big team who are conversant with all the languages, will be able to answer. So that is one that was not answered. And then I would now request that for engineer, if you can open the floor for everyone so that they can be able to raise their hands. We would like to ask you to raise your hand if you also have a question. And then I will point out in the order in which we get. So we take the first round. That is one question, Christian and Mary. Then I'll take another 3 questions, and then we do the second round. We still have 32 minutes to go, so we have good timing. So the first one on, do I need a consortium or can I apply again? It's come again, or I can apply as a company standalone. And then The other question I would like to ask Kwabena Bafu, please take the floor and ask your question. You can say where you are joining us from. Kwabena, the floor is yours.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. I'm joining from Ghana. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead and ask your question.
I'm joining from Ghana. I just wanted to find out. If it's a public company that is into production or processing of any of the agricultural produce, can that company apply? Not a private company, a public company.
Okay, thank you, Kwabena. Let's go to Lahina Adalonke. Lahina, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I'm so sorry, it's a little noisy on my end, but I'm going to make my question very quick. So in terms of prerequisites, our ability or eligibility to apply for the grant, I'm working for a company called AFEX, and what we do is we're a supply chain solutions company across the agricultural value chain. So we don't necessarily fit into processors or producers or the last one, which are off-takers. What we do is provide input financing and work with cooperatives to ensure maximum productivity and income for these farmers while also providing market access. My question would then be, would the kind of company I have described be eligible for this kind of grant?
Thank you. You got it, Mary, Christian? Okay. You got the question.
Actually, I didn't. I missed her question, but I don't know if colleagues on the call have it.
Yes, I do.
Please.
I do.
Okay, good. Good.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the third one before we take the second round is from Mungania, Adrian. Please take the floor.
Thank you very much. My name's Adrian Mungania from Kenya. And my question is, okay, actually, it's an aspect that I didn't quite understand. Maybe you can clarify more on the contributions by the consortium partners. No, not really the lead, but the others. How much or what is their contribution in the 50% contribution?
Okay, fine. Yes, it's clear, Mungania.
Okay, thank you.
Asante. Yeah. So let's give the presenters to answer those, and then we take the second round, please.
Okay, so I was looking at Chris. So I'm starting, and I'll start from the last question because it's also answering partly the question about what is a consortium and whether one individual company can apply. So first of all, an individual company cannot apply. The reason is that we want to ensure supply chain linkage, build strong linkages between the actors in the various supply chains. So that is a no. And one part of the question from the last person was, if I'm alone, what should I do? I don't know which value chain it belongs to, but let me give cashew as an example. So if I'm a processor of either cashew or even cocoa, and I'm based in one of the OACPS countries, and I want to organize or put in place a project, the first thing I will do is see with whom do I want to do it. And if, for example, you are doing this with farmers, the farmers can become your second applicants. And therefore, you can have the farmers plus yourself to form a consortium. You go to the next level, you could have an off-taker to be part. And we have had even projects where there are 4 or 5 people or 5 entities coming together to make a consortium. And this is also the reason why we don't decide what percentage of funding should come from which group. So if we were only 3 and you have to contribute 60%, we encourage that the lead applicant should be providing the maximum amount of the contribution. In this case, I can give an example and say 30%, whereas the farmer cooperative could probably be giving 10 and the off-taker 20. But we don't want to give you these percentages because you are deciding who should be part of your consortium. And so you can decide within your team or within your consortium what percentage should be provided by every party. However, the lead should provide the bigger budget. And this budget is not only in cash, it's also in kind. And you have to measure every contribution that you are making, whether being at the processor level, retailer level, or off-taker level, or farmer level, and then quantify it and provide this data to the organizers or as an applicant. Then there was a question from Mr. Kwabena Bafo, which unfortunately Chris did not get, so I'm taking that also. He wants to know if he's a public entity producing a certain commodity, whether they can apply. I'll say directly for the case of cashew is a no. You can be part of the consortium, but you cannot be the lead applicant. And I'll let Chris reply for maize and the others. For cashew is a no answer. You cannot apply by yourself and you cannot be a lead applicant. But if a private partner is applying, you could be part of that consortium. And then there was Madame Rahena, who spoke about their activities in input financing to farmers, as well as providing access to markets. Please, I'm sorry that you are not eligible as a lead applicant. However, if the ideas you have are good enough to meet the objectives, you can be part of a consortium or even be a service provider. I think your role will be a service provider where you are providing services to those farmer groups and they are paying you for that service as part of the matching grant funds. I'll leave it at this and invite my colleagues to add. Thank you.
Thank you. So before colleagues on the call come in, Mary, you are very right regarding Kwabena's question with the other value chains as well. Public institutions cannot apply as a lead, however, can come in as a consortium partner. So rightly as said, yes. And the question on applying a loan, please, this is a competitive matching grant fund. There are several applications coming in. We, like Mary rightly said, we want to create supply chain linkages for sustainability. So when you check the guideline, we have not explicitly said that one cannot apply singular or as an individual alone. However, we highly encourage that you come as a consortium. So we highly encouraging that you apply as a consortium. And trust me, you most often, when even we come as an individual and at the implementation level, you realize that you are actually not doing this alone. For instance, at the community level, sometimes you leverage on existing farmer-based organization facilities, all of that. They are all some kind of contribution from them. So in a way, you are already in a consortium. Yeah, so for instance, at the local level, local NGOs will provide their space for you for trainings and all of that. So, I mean, literally, we are doing consortium. So we advise that it should formalize this kind of partnership in a consortium agreement with the letter of intent and also in future grows to become an MOU. Thank you. Colleagues on the call can also add their voice, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think we'll take another second round. I see 4 hands. We'll take this round and maybe one more round. I see Jacob Koba, Harry. Please ask your question.
Can you get me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. So in regards to my own operation, I'm a cashew farmer, and we have a huge land of farm in Sierra Leone. We want to operate as a we have been operating, we have been planting cashew, and now we lack some form of buyers. We don't have markets. So we want to form that kind of idea wherein like we'll be buying and exporting. So we don't know if we are eligible to apply for such competition.
Okay, thank you. I'll invite, we have quite a number of hands, so please be brief and to the point. Direct question, Alfred Yusu, your second. Alfred Yusu, unmute yourself and yes, please go ahead.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. I'm also from Sierra Leone. I manage a company that imports irrigation pumps, and we sell these pumps to
last question.
Value chain. My question pertains to if I, as an importer of irrigation pumps, wants to serve as a supplier, a service provider to say producers in the main value chain, that's the project that is eligible. Because the reason why I think this project is important is because maize production in Sierra Leone is restricted because agriculture is mainly rain-fed. As a result, the output is quite low. Therefore, I think irrigation pumps can be a game changer in terms of bringing scale to maize production. I just want to know whether we qualify as a service provider.
Okay, thank you, Alfred. The other person you have is Yunusa Galbri. Yunusa Galbri. Sorry if I misspell your name. And please, let's have the question direct so that it becomes clear, because the question, the connection is sometimes not very clear and the presenters need to really capture it. Just please introduce yourself, where you're coming from, and the question. Thank you.
Okay, all right. My name is Yunusa Gabriel Enemali from Nigeria. I am the national publicity of Association of Cashew Farmers, Aggregators, and Processors of Nigeria. We are an association that comprises of cooperatives divided into three: the farmers, the aggregators, and the local processors. Now, some of us, we are also registered as a company, but Nigeria has a population. What we have always produced, of course, because we have the market, it has not even been enough. All we wanted was to see how we can scale up. My question is it possible? Can we also apply? We are not asking for people, off-takers. No, we already have the market, but we want to scale up. Can we apply? Because in our group, we have the farmers. We intend to also, increase in production, and then local processors. And women are youth are the one who processes the cashew. And then we have Cashew Matters as our program. It's a television and social media program that we use in disseminating or educating people why they should buy cashew. Can we apply? This is my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then we have, I think since we only have two hands, could we take them, dear presenters? Just two more. We have Solumnu Olufemi. Please take the floor. Kindly unmute and go to your question. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Shorum Olufemi, coming from Nigeria. I deal with in the livestock industry, basically. So I want to ask a question pertaining the matching contribution of the consortium. So what if one of the partner companies have a facility, let's say processing facility, that we are putting forward for the projects? Can that also be quantified as part of the matching fund? Let's say we are processing meat into durable forms or recyclable forms, and there's a facility that is worth a particular amount of money. Can that count as part of the matching fund? Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. Let's have the last one from Pumi Maisela. Pumi, please introduce yourself and where you're coming from.
I'm muted. Hi, everyone. I am Bumi Maisela from SE Holdings in South Africa. We are an aggregator. We work with farmers across the country, and we've started expanding to the region. My question is, our priority is our farm and the farmers within South Africa. Having said that, are we allowed to put a second application for our partner countries that we have started forging partnerships with in terms of localization and value add opportunities that we are creating for them in their countries? Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I think we take a round to answer these ones, and then we have the final round. I see there's still one hand up, and then we'll also go to the chat. So Mary, Christian, you could take this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Ashford. And it's very interesting to know that we have participants joining in from Sierra Leone. So I will tackle the question from Sierra Leone first. Then I'll leave the cashew ones for Mary to also handle. Yeah, so input supplier, straightforward, yes. As a service provider, yes, you can. Also, depending on the nature of the project, maybe you can also be a consortium partner. I mean, I'm saying this with care because I know some input suppliers that do have some social responsibilities. They do implement some projects at the community level. So if your intervention, I mean, the projects, but for now, yes, your question is as an input service provider, yes, you can be a service provider, of course. There is another question on the processing facility. If your processing facility can be quantified as contribution for a consortium partner, yes, if it is only serving a purpose of the project. If you are using this processing facility to implement an item of the project, yes, then you can count it as a contribution as a consortium partner. I'll leave the rest for Mary to answer, please.
Thank you very much, Chris. And I will add to what you have already provided. There was a question from South Africa. A lady spoke about being an aggregator and if they could apply. Yes, you can, but as we said, it has to be part of the consortium. So if you are working with the, if you are an aggregator, for me, that means you're an off-taker and you are eligible to apply with the farmer groups that you have and any other person that may be interested or may be important for your activity. However, it all depends on how you put this together. In a way, as I listened to you, I also felt that you could also be a service provider. So are you a buyer? If you are a buyer, then yes, you could be part of the consortium. If you are not a buyer and it's a service that you are providing to these farmers in South Africa, then you will then be a service provider. I hope that I understood your question and I have replied well. There was also Mr. Yunusa from Gabriel from Nigeria that said they have an association made up of farmers, processors, and cashew matters. So as we said, this activity for cashew, we are targeting direct actors and not service providers. Service providers have specific roles, and I see cashew matters, for example, as a service provider. However, the farmers and processors are direct actors and could apply. As it's a big association from what I understood, if you are able to prove in your application that this application is not only coming from one group, but from the farmers and processors that have one activity together, then it could be eligible because we have in the guideline, exceptionally, such situations might emerge. So these are the two questions that I've captured. If I left something out, I'm happy to provide further answer. Thank you.
Yes, Mary, to add to the question from South Africa, I think she's made mention of if they could put in application for via partners in other countries, if it is the same organization. First of all, I'm not even very sure of South Africa's eligibility, but South Africa is part of the OACPS. Police can confirm that in the chats. I'm not sure, but on behalf of your other companies that are in OACP states, yes, you can put in, and as Mary rightly said, if you are rendering a service, then it comes in as a service provider. But if you, as an aggregator, as an off-taker, then you can come together with your farmers group or your suppliers or producers to put in an application. Yes, thank you. And of course, it even qualifies as one of the regional programs that we spoke about. I mean, if a project goes beyond one country, as the countries are all qualified as OCPS countries, then yes, of course, you can even look beyond the 100,000 euros. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the question has been answered on the chat. South Africa is not part of OACPS, but the other countries are eligible. We go to the final round, ladies and gentlemen, and able presenters. We have one question on the chat. Two, actually. One is, please explain, can a private university apply with a research institute? And then the second one, explain how consortium partner like NGOs benefit from the fund at the implementation stage. And then we have the final question from, which is a hand on the chat, is from Olalua Owane. Olalua Owane, please unmute yourself and ask your question. And this will be the final round, and then we can close the discussion. Olalua? Olua? Going once? Going twice? Gone. I think he's not able to. So I would propose these two questions. Can a private university apply with a research institute? And please explain how a consortium partner like NGOs benefit at the funding and implementation stage. I would say, Mary and Christian, you could answer these two, and then you can give your final remarks, and then we would close the meeting. Yeah, thank you.
Private company, private university, I will leave you with Mary, especially because you're talking about research. I know Mary's outfit to have a research call coming up. Maybe Mary can throw more lights and if they qualify.
All right, thank you very much. So as Christian, I think you actually answered this question. For this particular call, no, you cannot do that. You cannot apply with another research institution. However, we are going to launch a call for applications for research grants in the very as soon as possible. And we'll keep you posted. You will be notified again, and you'll be invited to a call specifically for the research grants for which you can then apply. Thank you. Then the second question is about how NGOs, whether NGOs have any role to play. Yes, we think that NGOs have roles to play. And we are also happy to have NGOs involved because the private sector, their role is very specific. A processor's business is to process, an aggregator's business is to aggregate. So depending on the kind of project that you might propose, NGOs might be needed as service providers to support the implementation of various activities. However, it is the applicants that will decide whether they want the NGOs or not and who exactly they want to support. So we encourage all applicants who have need for service providers to reach out to the right service providers and include them in your application already. So when you send in your concept notes, we know already that you will need support on a specific activity and you have identified either an NGO or consulting organization or whatever, a service provider in whichever format to support your activity. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks a lot. Let's give another round of applause to our presenters, Mary and Christian, for the job well done. We're very grateful for the insights and for the explanations. We still have we only have 6 minutes to go, and I would like to close the call now. We still have the chat active, and then if there is also more questions, we have a bigger team that will also respond to the different questions. I would say at this point, I would ask our presenters to say a few words, closing words, and then we can formally close the meeting. Ladies first, or do we start with gentlemen, men before? Christian, maybe you start and then Mary can close for us.
Okay, thank you so much, and Ashford, and also to thank participants for showing up, and for me, very interesting to know that Sierra Leone was on the call. I hope that you send a message to your brother in Liberia, colleagues that you know, or your network in Liberia and all other countries that did not show up today. We really want to reach out to all OACPS states, so countries. So you go online, check the countries. We did an introduction here, so you can tell countries that showed up or did not. Please share our link, our website, with your network outside your country. Thank you so much. And also to remind you of what you see on the screen, clearly tomorrow, we also have another webinar on the human capacity development, which is very, very important, would help you, guide you in your application to, technically tender in a very sound projects, concepts as well. Yes, thank you.
Mary, please.
Yes, I will just take the time to thank everybody who has participated in today's webinar. We thank you for your engagement. We thank you for your ever presence, and we look forward to hearing more from you. Remember, every data is on our website. What we've just presented is a summary. You can have more details on our website, the 2 websites that are shared in the chats. If you have questions, you also have our email addresses, official email addresses. Thank you and have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you. Do I still see Bastian on the chat? He graced the occasion.
Thank you, Ashford. I'm still here, but that was a wonderful closing remark from my dear colleague Mary and from my dear colleague Chris. Thank you also, Ashford, very much for the great facilitation of today's call. I declare the call officially closed with great thanks to all the participants of today.
All right. Thank you, everyone. And with the powers that have just been given as a moderator, I declare the congregation dissolved. You can now open your mic, your videos, and say hi to each other. But the formal part and the official part is over. Thank you very much for